Hey y'all, it's Regan. Welcome back to another episode of Cozy Up with Regan and Friends. Maddie and Jaya, of course.
Hey y'all.
We had a very wholesome, sweet, wonderful week. Would you like to explain?
Yeah, I got baptized.
Woo!
As some of you had maybe seen on social media. It was a very special week. It was a very special Sunday. My mom flew in, which was amazing. And then Irene, Reagan's mom, surprised me in the middle of the day. She just walked in the house and I was like, is there an intruder? Who's going into the house? And then Kenzie surprised me, which was just absolutely amazing. The surprises were great. And those are just people that I would have wanted there anyway. So that was just the best.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It was so perfect, so good. Everyone got here safely, got back home safely, and I couldn't have asked for a better weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
We've been busy.
Very busy.
Very busy. And then
started Bible study back up again, too.
See all the gals. And just working our lives away.
To the bone.
Yeah?
My feet hurt.
Is your second or third week of school better than the first? Fourth?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Slowly but surely?
Yeah.
Yeah? The little chickens are starting to figure it out?
Yeah, I have 8 new students, but I'm not going to dive into that right now.
That's its own whole episode.
My arms are covered in bruises, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So this week, since we wanted to keep the celebration going of Jaya being baptized, we figured we've never really sat down in dedicated time and space to sharing our testimonies and talking about our relationship with God and just how it's transformed us and how it's changed over the last couple years. So we figured that this week was the perfect week to do that. We're not going to do an intro game because we just wanted to focus on this and just give us the time we need to be able to talk about it. But we'll just start by sharing our story and then we'll kind of go from there.
Perfect.
That work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I can kick us off with my testimony. It is a roller coaster. I have my notes here. It is a roller coaster of a relationship, to say the least. So I grew up in church, went to a Lutheran church from a little tyke all the way until 8th grade. Then we switched to a non-denominational church in my hometown. I would say, when you're little and your parents go to church, then you go to church. So I was going to church regularly every week, was in Sunday school, all that jazz. I also went to a Christian school. So my basic knowledge of the Bible has always been pretty solid, just because of school and church. But then around junior year of high school, I stopped going to youth group, was starting to lose interest in going to church, was just starting to rebel a little bit, I guess, for lack of better words. I just didn't care anymore, didn't see the importance. Definitely didn't lose my faith, but definitely wasn't really interested at all. Because Maddie and I went to youth group and Awana and Sunday school and all that our whole lives, but then junior year of high school, I stopped going. And I would say that carried on until I went to college. And then, for those of you who don't know, I went to college, didn't last long initially, and then I dropped out of college. And when I dropped out of college, I started dealing with anxiety and depression and everything that comes with that. And that's when I restarted my journey with God. I would say after taking a good 3 or 4 year break of I'm not interested, I don't care. Because I was medicated, I was going to therapy, I was, trying to do all these classes and use all these tools and do everything that I can to fix it. But then really at the end of the day, it was my family and my friends and prayer and going to church that seemed to really do the trick. I was okay, there's something here. I need to dive back into going to church. So I went to church for a little while. I started going to a college group, and then I started being discipled one-on-one with somebody from my church. And I thought I was on a really good path, but then of course Satan found his way back into my life, and I started partying again, and I was drinking a lot and doing things I shouldn't. and hanging out with, I don't want to say the wrong people, but doing the wrong things with certain people. Stopped going to church again, wasn't doing a Bible study, wasn't doing any of that. So I definitely like fell off the wagon again. And that carried on for, I'd say, 3 or 4 years until we all moved here. And I knew that moving here, things needed to change. I needed to change my life. I needed to get back on track. And as soon as we moved here, we found Mission, which is a church we're all going to talk about in our stories, I'm sure. And as soon as we found Mission, it was an immediate feeling of this is exactly where I should be, and this is exactly what I've been needing. And I felt from the very first service we went to a connection with God again and a desire to be closer to God. And I would say for probably the first time in my whole life, even though I went to Christian school and I went to church and I grew up that way and I went to youth group and all that, I'd say for the first time ever when we went to Mission that I started to feel like I was understanding and like the Bible was applicable. And because of Mission, I got to a point in my faith where I felt like I could be baptized. Almost exactly a year ago to the day, I was baptized at Mission, and that was the most beautiful thing. And since then, I feel like I've definitely had a couple slip-ups and trip-ups, but I feel like I'm on a good path, and I'm trying to be better every day, and that's, a forever effort. But yeah, so now here we are, and I just try to make better choices and good decisions and try to honor God with my relationships and just my life in general. So for a long-winded answer, that's my testimony.
Yay. It's amazing.
Thank you.
We love it. It's amazing. So I guess I'll do mine now. So I also have some notes, but I'm also kind of just going from the dome here because I feel like that's the most like authentic I can do, because I feel like if I look at my notes too long, it's just going to be a scatter. But so I never grew up religious. My dad was not religious. My mom was religious. She grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic school up until high school, but then never carry on with the religion. And growing up, my sister and I would always do vacation Bible school. But when I was that young, I wasn't understanding what it was. I thought I was just going to like a camp, because I was like super little, and we would just go do it for the summer. And then years go by, never went to church. I would always get asked by my friends, be like, will you come to like on Christmas or Easter or Halloween, like we do like a trunk drive or like something like that. And I was just like, no, because I was always so scared or nervous. I had this weird feeling. I was like, God's going to judge me because I don't know anything about him, and I don't know anything about Jesus. I don't know anything about the Bible. And I always felt like I was going to be judged by the people there. I just like didn't feel comfortable, for a lack of better terms. So then I just go on through life, and fast forward up until I get to college. I moved to Dickinson from Arizona because that's where I played junior college softball. Moved to Dickinson, and I am struggling being an athlete. I am struggling with, what should I say, just partying and, trying to do the things that college kids do. And I was just living the life, and I started getting really depressed. I started getting anxious. I ended up getting a boyfriend that I knew was not good for me. And he led me down a path that I am not so proud of, and went through substance abuse that quite literally, I don't want to get emotional, but could have ruined my life if I continued. And I didn't think I was going to get emotional because we already did this like not even a week ago. But yeah, so I was just lost in the sauce. And I think that after that, I just knew that something needed to change. So I leave that relationship, which is just a blessing in itself. And then after that, Regan, I meet Regan a little like after, or during the relationship I was in. I meet Regan. We're great friends. I ended up meeting Yanni through Regan. We're all friends. And then Regan's like, I'm just going to move to, like, we're going to move to Arizona. And, like, I didn't, like, mind you guys, I didn't even ask her. I said, I'm going. And I was like, I'm just going to go with you guys.
And I don't remember, not in the nicest way possible. I was like, I didn't extend the invite.
No, she definitely did not extend the invite.
But it all worked out for the best,
Yeah.
100%.
And there was just something in me that I was like, I need to get out of this place because there's so much trauma and so many bad memories. And in the midst of like all that, the reason I'm there is to play softball, and my mental state and the things I was going through, it led me to quit softball as well. So I knew that like now that I wasn't playing softball anymore, there was nothing for me there anymore. So I was like, I just need to get out of here. And then we moved to Arizona. And I'm feeling like a breath of fresh air leaving North Dakota. And then you guys are going to church every Sunday, and I'm just like sitting at home, like just beat bopping, living my life. And then you're always like, you're more than welcome to come with us. And I was like, no, like it's okay. Like I'm just not comfortable yet, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I start to like fall into a weird mental state, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go. I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to see how it is. And that Sunday at Mission absolutely flipped my life upward, not downward, but it flipped me around, and it was the most eye-opening and most comfort I had felt in so long. And I just like knew I was home. Like you had said about Mission. It's just such an amazing church, and the people there and the worship team, and Landon is just like Landy Jones Jr. Like he is just the absolute best. And like it just was so welcoming, and that day really changed my life. And then a month or two later, you're like, why don't you come to Bible study with us? Like you don't have to say anything, just sit there and, you know, see what it's like. And I met a wonderful group of ladies that we still see every Wednesday now, and they're
love them to pieces.
Such a huge part of my journey, and they're amazing in their insight on not only like the Bible and Jesus, but just also like life, and you know. And here I am now. I just got baptized a couple days ago. And that was beyond beautiful, and it was so special. And Regan was in the tub with me because she is the reason that I am who I am today in my relationship with God. And it's just a beautiful thing. And yeah, like that's my whole story.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Yeah. It's an emotional one. I didn't think I was going to cry, guys. That was crazy.
Now we're just getting started.
Yeah.
All right, Yanni.
My testimony is that I, from day one, was like bound to be involved in the church. My great-grandparents had been a large part of founding a church in North Dakota, a big part in it. And so I had grown up in the church, and I was a part of so many things. I did Awana, and I was like the kid who would complete the book every year. I took that very seriously.
I was not that kid.
And I naturally moved up to like youth group and was really on fire. And in high school, I got really good at understanding the Bible and cross-referencing different scriptures and saying things just from the heart and understanding them really easily when I would read the Bible. And then I went to college, and the natural path of going to college would be I didn't turn away from my faith, but while I had gone to college, I also had experienced church hurt from the church that I had grown up in. Long story short, the church had claimed to be there for the broken, but it wasn't actually that way, and it was just very hurtful the way that things were handled. So I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth and not a lot of trust for the church. And I wasn't a huge partier, but I had a full college experience, and like I said, I never turned away God, but I wasn't going to church. I wasn't in any part of anything. I would still pray and I would still open up my Bible from time to time, but it wasn't in my routine the way that it should be. And then when we moved down here and we started going to mission, I think the biggest thing for me was the first Sunday that we were there, I saw up on their like slideshow, addiction recovery, like divorce care, and just a lot of things that actually are there to help people who have been broken. And then the first baptism Sunday, they read a lot of people's testimonies who truly had, how do I put this? Broken stories. Like they were saying, like, I have done this in my life and I'm here now, and I have done this and I'm here now. And everybody accepted them with open arms. And so I think that seeing the church that was actually there for people who were broken and accepting of people who had gone through and fallen into the sins of the world, I was like, this is this is exactly where I need to be, because I believe it should be that way. I believe it should be, if you say you're going to be there for the broken people, then you actually should be there for broken people. And so now we've gotten more involved with, and I feel like I've picked it back up to where I was. It was like, I didn't turn away for a few years, but I wasn't like in it like I should have been for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm back up to where I used to be. Honestly, not quite. I feel like now as a working adult and stuff, I don't have enough time. In high school, I was really into a lot, but as much as I can, I try my best. So
I do not mean to laugh, you guys, but Sawyer is like,
yeah, we're gonna
gulping.
Yeah, just let me we just gotta adjust.
Yeah.
Can new dogs figure it out?
Like, these dogs are like, Ivy is
She's
smoothing.
so smooth.
Sawyer was gulping so loud while
like
you were reading
4
your
minutes.
testimony. I was like really trying to keep it together, but I just wanted to yell at
He
him
had
like,
to.
Sawyer, like, relax.
Oh,
man.
that was a beautiful testimony.
It was.
It was.
And I think
not to disregard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one big thing that like we all have in common is like, and I feel like it's natural, but I don't know why it's natural, but I feel like a lot of people, either one, they are really into their faith and they are like go so hard for God up until they get to college, because you're surrounded by so many distractions, or two, after college, when they go through all that, they get closer to God and they start becoming a believer because of all that.
I remember in youth group, like my senior year, I was super, like, I was one of the mentors for the younger kids too. And like, they were reading us statistics before we had graduated, and they said statistically 80%, or I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a very high number. And it was like 80% of you are not going to go to church again. And I remember thinking in my heart, that's not going to be me. Like, I'm not going to be that statistic, because there's so many people who grow up in the church and then get out on their own and never go again. And I remember thinking, like, I will never like turn away from it. I know that I'm never going to be perfect and like every Sunday always reading the Bible or whatever. But I remember being like, that's really scary that like people grow up in the church and then how many of them like turn away from it, you know?
Because I mean, I also think that like Satan attacks you when you're most vulnerable as well. And once people leave their homes because they have their parents or their grandparents like guiding them through their journey with God, now that they're away from that, he's gonna be like, here's alcohol, here's sex, here's drugs, here's, you know, a bunch of people that, you know, because you are who you surround yourself with at the end of the day too. So, you know, I think that there's just so many temptations, and that gets all of us because we're so young too. I'm like 19, 20, 21 years old, like doing things that I'm just like, wow. So I think it's a, what's the word? It's a universal experience.
100%.
That,
because you can live on your own. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
And you want to try new things.
yeah, and you think you're really an adult and you can do whatever and you're going to be okay.
The same thing between all of ours is that we did go through that. We all went to college and we all dabbled in doing things we shouldn't have. But then it's like the important part is, do you come back? Do you get your poop in a group and realize like you can't do this life on your own. I can't do this life on my own.
Absolutely.
You know, like, even with the best of friends and the most supportive, amazing family, it's like, I still couldn't.
No.
If I didn't have, like, the purpose and the meaningfulness that, like, God adds to my life and the journey that I'm called to, I mean, like, life sucks, you know? Especially being an adult, and we're barely adults.
Mm-hmm. We're
and
cushioned adults.
Yeah. And I'm already, like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Sorry if you mentioned this and I didn't clock it, but when did you get baptized?
Oh, yes. When I was 14. And I know that that's young for some people, but I knew in my heart of hearts, I was old enough to understand, like, what it meant and what it represented. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I got baptized when I was 14.
And that's, like, really very common, because I was up there on that stage with a bunch of little chickens. I was the oldest on that stage. Mm-hmm. I think all those gals that they had to been, like, middle school, high school that were with me.
Yeah, they're all part of Anthem.
Yeah.
So they're all the teeny boppers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just all about mindset when it comes to baptism, because I've seen 8-year-olds and I've seen 80-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you do look at the 8-year-old and you think, like, oh, like, are they there? But it's like, Landon talked about in church one time on baptism. Like, we view baptism as, like, for me at least, I was guilty of thinking, like, I'm not ready, I'm not there yet, I'm not a good enough Christian yet. And that's why I put off baptism until I was 23, 24. But Landon said, like, baptism is supposed to be, like, an immediate thing. Like, you get saved, you ask Jesus into your heart, and you're supposed to be baptized right after. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how they did it in the Bible. You got saved and then they dunked you. You know, it's an act of obedience. And I think now it's like, oh, you wait till the perfect moment, till this, till that. Mm-hmm. So I think when you do see an 8-year-old who's being baptized or a 14-year-old, it's like, no, they're in that spot. They know what they're doing. They're committing their life to the Lord. And if they figured it out sooner, I mean, I
remember praying the prayer much younger, but when I was starting to think, I was the one who brought baptism up to my mom to see, like, when it was happening. It also didn't happen very often at our church, because, like, Mission, it happens very often because you have a larger population, so you have more people who want to get it done. It didn't happen a lot at our church until they had enough people to justify, like, filling the baptismal and heating it up. So it was like a few rounds of that when I was, like, cognizant of what that meant, that I finally brought it up and then did it myself. So
yeah. And I originally got baptized as a baby, which, depending on your religion, it depends on what you believe. But I was baptized Lutheran when I was, like, 9 months old. And then I had just been waiting until I felt like I was where I should be. Because I knew I wanted to get rebaptized. Because it's non-denominational. You believe you get baptized at an older age, not as a child.
Yeah.
Recently in church, our pastor was talking about how it's important, I think, to reflect on how God's worked in your lives. And he brought up 2 important questions that I thought also went very hand in hand with our testimonies for us to share. So I wanted to ask, what is the greatest answered prayer that you have?
Do you want to go first or me?
You can go.
Okay. I think, so I was trying to explain this to Regan before we recorded this, and I think that, like, my greatest answered prayer was a part of my testimony was leaving North Dakota and coming here, because even though I was not religious, I was not a believer. I wouldn't say I was not a believer, but I didn't have a personal relationship with God. I remember I was still in my bad relationship. I was lost, anxious, depressed, going through all the things I went through, and I just sat there and I was like, please, I prayed and I was just like, please, God, please, please, please help me get out of the situation that I'm in. And that was 2 years, like a year and a half, 2 years before we had even moved to Arizona. And I think that we sometimes believe that just because you pray, it's going to happen like immediately. You know, like it's just going to be like instant, like gratification that you're just going to like, it's going to happen right away. And now like looking back, moving here and you just saying I can tag along, like that was the answered prayer that I had prayed years prior. Because okay, go.
My brain's just thinking though, because if you say like a year and a half before we moved, like a year and a half before we moved is like roughly when we started working together.
Yeah.
And had we not worked together, then we would have not been friends who would have
exactly,
you would have hopped along and moved across the country with.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like he did answer the prayer, but looking in hindsight, now you can see that in that moment, he said, okay, we're going to switch things around and you're not going to know that working at Elsom or working at Fatfish with this person is going to lead you to this.
Exactly. And, but yeah, I just think that a lot of the times, like, we don't understand why things are happening when they are, and we don't know why it's happening. And then, also that, you know, your prayers can be answered. It's not going to be right away, but you know, it's always going to be answered. It's either going to be answered or it's going to give you a sign that like you either should be doing this or should not be doing this. So I think that was one of my big ones.
Do you want to go or should I?
You can go.
Yeah. I have two that are, I feel like equally as important. So I'm going to share them both and try to be brief. The first one is, this one's more important. Well, whatever. So growing up, I had my whole entire life until I was 19, my mom was an alcoholic. And okay, hold on. I collect myself. That was really, really hard. And that was something I prayed about for at least 10 years. Okay, hold on. And that's like when you say like God doesn't answer right away, like I prayed a long, long time. And in 2019 she decided to be sober, and so that was 6 years ago, and she is an absolute warrior and an absolute she went through the worst. You know, she had the withdrawal. She's in the hospital for a week. She tried to relapse and failed, which is a whole story in itself that I won't share. But I just every single day am so grateful that she stopped. And I'm grateful that God kept our family together all of those years, because a lot of times alcoholism ruins families and ruins relationships, and somehow, some way it didn't. And all my siblings and my dad and her, and we're all one big happy family. And I thank God every single day, every time I think of her, every time I see her, and I see her helping others, and now she can tell her story and help others get on the right track. I don't know. It's just like the craziest thing. And I truly never thought I'd see the day. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know what her life trajectory was, but that's easily the most amazing answered prayer ever, because I just don't even know. But,
we love Irene.
we love Irene.
She's just an absolute gem.
The honeyest of lambs.
She is just, and she makes the best pastries.
The best pistachio bread.
Yes. Sour cream
twists.
Yeah. Give me one right now.
Okay, yeah, that was good. I just needed to thank you for lightening it up a second.
Yeah.
So that one's mine. The other one I'll keep brief. Goes back to just dealing with anxiety and depression, which is an absolute epidemic at this point, is horrible, and you wouldn't wish it upon your worst enemy. Dealing with the disaster of a dumpster fire that goes on in your brain when you deal with stuff like that. Because I remember when I first dropped out of college and I was anxious every day, all day, from morning to night. I would wake up, and before I could even realize I was awake, I was already anxious, and it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. And I remember thinking that I understand why people do certain things if they think that there's no getting out of this feeling. That if they don't have any hope, or you lose hope, and that's what I kept, like, every day I prayed, like, remind me, like, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. Like, there's hope. Like, this isn't a forever thing. This, like, somehow, some way, this will get better. And if I am grateful that like, mindset never left, and I have always prayed, like, I'll figure this out. And I feel like now, 5-6 years later, I feel like I have gotten to a point where it's like, it's not perfect, but it's controlled and contained for the most part. And that's something I also thank him for almost every single day, because that's just the worst feeling in the whole world.
It really is. I could have said that as one of mine as well, because that has been a struggle for the last year since I had, like, a first initial panic attack, and I had never, like, had one of those before. And it is the worst feeling. I really, like, would not wish that on anybody.
My worst enemy, I wouldn't. That's just horrible.
It's the worst.
And there's nothing you can do. But that's another answered prayers. I feel like I've gotten to a point now where I can look back at what I've been through and just move forward, helping people or guiding people or trying to give as much information as I've learned. But it's, once again, another constant work in progress. But
for sure.
Yeah. I am still in the midst of praying for healing from a lot of big things, I would say. I still have a lot of hurt from a lot of things that were out of my control. And up until this point, my biggest answered prayer, I can say, though, is when we first moved down here, I didn't know what I was going to do for work, and I just prayed for God to show me clearly where I needed to be and what I needed to do, and I knew that I needed to help people, but I didn't know how that looked. There was a lot of different ways that I could have gone with, like, the degrees that I have, and I went to a few interviews where if I would have forced it, I could have made it work, and yes, I would have gotten a paycheck and it was fine, but it was so clear to me where I should have worked, and then a year later I got promoted and I am where I am now. And so I would say that was my biggest answered prayer, is that God showed me within 3 weeks. It was a stressful process. I put a lot of applications in. I had a lot of phone calls. I had a lot of interviews, this, that, and I would go to these places and they just wouldn't feel right. And then I took the job that I'm at now, and it just was better than I could have ever imagined for a career choice. So
and you got promoted after a year.
Yeah, about
so quick.
8 months. Yeah. He showed me where I should have been, and it was a very clear answer and where I needed to be. So that's my greatest answered prayer to this day.
But there's nothing more stressful than being confused and lost when it comes to the career. So you coming down here not knowing exactly what you were planning on doing, or thinking you thought you knew what you wanted to do, but then being led a different area for it to have worked out and paid off so quickly, and him just being like, hey, like, you're going to be okay. Yeah. And this is the right spot because you really did excel. And it was clearly very obvious to all of your colleagues and bosses and whoever makes those decisions. It was clear that this is where you should be, and that they wanted you.
From the jump, like, I went to an interview and they were like, can you drive a bus of 45 kids around North Scottsdale and drop them off after the program? And I was like, I can't even drive my little SUV around North Scottsdale. And they were like, I was like, do I have, like, support staff? Is this an everyday thing? And they were like, no, it's just you on the bus. And I was
do I have a backup camera?
Okay. So, like, it was just so clear when I went to these certain interviews, this was not what I needed to accept. I could have gotten a job within, like, 2 weeks of moving down here after getting settled and starting interviews. I didn't get mine until 3, but I had, like, offers from other places, but they were just, it was so clear where I should have been. And that was my biggest prayer. So
yeah, that was a struggle for all of us. Yeah. When we first moved down here.
Yeah. It all worked out.
It did. Shout out Bob Stroke.
Along with greatest answered prayer, our pastor brought up to reflect on what has been your greatest moment with God. And I think that can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. So I think however you interpret it, I think, yeah.
Okay. So mine kind of coincides with the greatest answered prayer, I guess. But when I was in high school, I went, I think it's my second mission trip. And one of the things that was like the biggest topic was like helping people around you as a Christian. And I remember I didn't travel a lot when I was a kid, and I had only really traveled for these mission trips, and it was my second one. And I remember just having this like moment of like, there is so much more to life than small town, what people think of me, this, that, and the other. Like, I remember having this moment of almost like unselfishness. Like, if I have to sacrifice some of my comfort and my comfort to help someone else in this world, then that is what I was put here to do. Mm-hmm. And it was just like this realization that like, not everything is about me. And if someone's struggling, then I need to help them. And love thy neighbor, help thy neighbor, all of that. And that was when I was 15. I realized there was more to life than the car that you drive or what's in your bank account or this. Like, as a human, as a Christian human on this earth, like, I am called to be a helper where I can and shine light where I can. Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of kickstarted like my jump to get into like a helping profession as a career. And then, yeah, so it was almost like this aha moment of like, I'm not the center of the universe. If I'm comfortable, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other things going on in the world than how many people liked my Instagram post. Mm-hmm. And that is so irrelevant. So look at the bigger picture of the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that led you to the career you have now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really, really good one.
Mm-hmm. Me or you?
You can go for it.
Okay. My greatest moment with God, how I interpreted that question, was a time where I felt and heard and saw him more clearly than any other time. It was probably less than a year ago, and I was in a period of, I'm not hearing God, I'm not seeing him, I'm not feeling him, I'm not desiring him. I was frustrated because I was going through some gnarly like spiritual warfare. And I just remember I was so uninterested. I was sitting in church just thinking about other things. Like, I remember sitting there just being like, I don't care. I don't care about this. And it was, while I'm saying I don't care, I'm also saying like, what's going on? Why I'm so angry? Why am I thinking this? Mm-hmm. And it went on for, I feel like a couple weeks. And I remember someone just saying like, if you don't see him, you don't hear him, like tell him, just cry out to him. So we were in church and worship's going on. I love worship. If anyone knows me, I love the worship. And I remember worship's going on and I'm just like, I don't care. I just had that same feeling where I was like, I don't feel him. I don't see him. I don't hear him. I don't feel the connection. I don't feel the interest. So I just like stopped singing and I closed my eyes and I am just like, God, I don't see you. I don't hear you. I'm not desiring you. Like, show me you. Like, please. Because I'm like, it's a terrifying feeling too when you don't feel like locked in. And
to be like angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just stopped and I was just sitting there and I was like, just please, like, show me you. Let me feel you. Let me hear you. And I have this like one song that I really, really like, and it's Blessings by Elevation. It's always just one that's like the melody of it and the lyrics of it have always just been one I really like. But when we first moved here, I was like, I'd love to hear the church sing it. But they're never going to, because one, it's kind of an old song. Two, it's not really a song you sing during worship that often, because it's like kind of more of like a wedding song now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, they're never going to sing it. And they never had. So for like a whole year, I've never heard this song. And as soon as I said the God, like, show me you, that song ended. And the next song was Blessings by Elevation. And we have never, ever.
Mm-hmm. I remember this moment.
And I was like, I truly was too stunned to speak. I knew exactly in that moment that was God telling me that he's there, that he hears me. Wow, this is crazy. That he's right there. He's not gone. And like my whole body's shaking and I'm bawling, and I'm just like, you just like when you know that it's from God, and when you like everyone feels it differently, but like I knew without a doubt that God was telling me and talking to me and showing me that he was there. And I will literally never forget it, because I've never in my whole life have ever felt anything. And then it happened one more time a couple months after that in a slightly different scenario, but kind of the same thing, where it was like it's just the craziest thing. So that song has never been played, and it's maybe only been played once since. Like, that's not a song that's frequently played, but that is the song that I was like, they're never going to play it, but I would love to hear it.
And I remember that moment because I was standing next to you and you were uncontrollable. Like, you were like bawling, and like I could feel.
Yeah, like I was shaking down to my ankles.
Yes, like you were like uncontrollably like overwhelmed, and your eyes were closed, and you like were just like praising, and just like I can't even explain it, because I knew that you were just like nothing. There was like, it was like there was nothing around you besides like you with your eyes closed, and like you're listening to the song, and there was like nothing going on. Yeah, you know. Yeah, it was like one of those moments.
Yeah, so that is my greatest moment with God, because I feel like that was the first and the biggest time that it's ever been like, I feel the Holy Spirit, I feel God, I feel Jesus, I feel them all at the same time talking to you, saying, hey, we're here for you, we're not gone, like just keep pushing on, like we're right here, we're right next to you, we're there. But
yeah, that's amazing. Mine will just be brief because it had just happened, and I feel like for somebody who never was religious and didn't grow up religious, that the overwhelming feeling of being baptized is like honestly just like a surreal feeling. And like if 10-year-old, 16-year-old, and 19-year-old Jaya could see where she is now, they would be baffled, to say the least. And I just think that like my greatest moment with God was as soon as I like stepped foot in the baptismal. I was like, when I tell you, as soon as I was getting asked questions, everything went black. Like everything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. I was just like one with God, and I just like had this like overwhelmingly like comfort like drape over me like a blanket. Like I just like, I can't even describe the feeling, but I just knew that it was where I was supposed to be in the exact moment. And I had always, like, we had the talk earlier about like when you were getting baptized, you're like, I don't know if this is the right time. And then when I was like, I don't know if this is the right time, because I'm not as devoted. I don't feel like I'm as devoted as I should be. And you're like, there is no right time. If you're a believer and you feel it in that you are saved, then you need to do it. And so at that moment, God had reassured me that it was the right time, and I was exactly where I needed to be in that moment, and being watched by the people who love me the most and are the most supportive, whether that was in real life, or I know a lot of the closest people to me watched on YouTube that couldn't be there. And it was just, an undescribable feeling. And it is something that I will never forget for the rest of my life.
It's just the best feeling because some people feel it all the time. Some people don't ever feel it. I had never felt it until that had happened. But when you feel that God is talking to you or telling you something or giving you a realization, or he's just present, there's just no better feeling. There's nothing more comforting, nothing more reassuring. It's just the best.
It's an indescribable feeling.
It is. So to wrap up the episode this week, I wanted to do something a little different, but something I think is very important and something that we all practice and do daily. I would love to close in prayer. I feel like whether you are a believer or not, I would hope that it would inspire you or maybe lead to further questions or interests. And any one of us three would always be happy to talk about literally anything, and we will always be there to support. just whoever's watching and listening. But yeah, I'm just going to close this in prayer, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to first and foremost thank you for the two ladies sitting beside me. I want to thank you for the amazing week that we've had, and I want to thank you for getting Jaya to a place where she feels confident in her relationship with you. And I want to thank you for her willingness to obey what you ask us to do, and be baptized, and her publicly proclaiming that she wants to live for you. I pray that moving forward, all three of us would continue to grow and be the best example that we can be, even though we're all flawed, but that we would learn from our flaws and learn from our mistakes, and that we would remember that you are with us every day through every step, and you are so forgiving. I pray for anyone who is watching that maybe feels confused. I pray that if there is any confusion or any interest, I pray that they will have the courage to reach out and ask questions, whether that's to us or to a family member or to find a church. Let them have comfort in taking that step, because it's definitely a scary step to take when you aren't sure where to start. And I just pray that ain't Satan. I don't know what is.
No, that's crazy.
Satan, get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, so camera died. So let's wrap it up really fast. I just want to finish out my prayer. I have no idea where I was. But I just pray for us and everyone listening. I pray that they will know that you are with them always, and you want the best for them, and so do we. And I pray that in the name of Jesus, that we will all have a fantastic week, and no matter what's going on in our lives, that we will remember that you are with us every step of the way. Amen.
Amen.
And for that chaotic ending, I don't even know how to finish closing her out, but we will see you guys in a week.
Yeah.
And your guess is as good as ours on what the topic will be. So we will see you next Thursday. And I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was definitely different from the others, but I think it is so important to share our stories, because you just never know who will see them and whose lives it could change. So with that, we will say peace out.
Peace out, Girl Scout.